And I lied on yesterday's show. It wasn't on purpose, though. It was just an accident. Maybe misled. Maybe it was just an oversight, we could say. Because I introed the show by saying I was going to go over winners and losers from the blockbuster trade. Never got to it. Kind of ran out of time, though. I didn't think it would have fit into yesterday's show. So we're going to do it today. Winners and losers from the Minkah, Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, Steelers, Miami trade. And then we'll also talk some TJ Watt at the end because we got an update there. So first, let's go over winners and losers. Pretty easy right off the bat for the winners. Some obvious ones. Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. Ramsey and Jonnu go to a better team. Ramsey and Jonnu both paid more. They wanted some extra securities in their contract. They got that in Pittsburgh. Jonnu more than Ramsey. Ramsey got $1 million or $2 million pay bump, whereas Jonnu Smith got a 1 year, $12 million extension. That's significant. $12 million extension versus what he had 1 year, $4 million. So those are two things. And I think they just go to a better team, better situation than Miami. Miami's on the downswing. When McDaniel first got there was a spark for the first couple seasons, but I think we ultimately know that they're never going to be able to get over the hump, never going to be serious contenders in the AFC as long as Tua is their quarterback. So Ramsey, Jonnu, I think go to a better football situation. They get their money, and they should both be happy. They're winners here. They're definitely winners. Arthur Smith, because he gets Jonnu Smith back in his offense. It's been so long. It's been a year. They were apart for a year. Arthur Smith, Jonnu, they couldn't take it anymore. The long-distance relationship wasn't happening. They needed to rekindle. So Jonnu's going to be a weapon in this Arthur Smith offense. He's going to figure out ways to use him. And I think Jonnu is ultimately going to be effective. People could roll their eyes with Jonnu Smith's usage in the past with the Titans offense, and particularly with the Falcons when the Falcons had Kyle Pitts and he was drafted number 4 overall, yet Jonnu Smith was, you could argue, more productive. So you could roll your eyes at that and just be like, man, Arthur Smith, he overuses Jonnu. He thinks way too highly of Jonnu, but he's still a good player. And then you saw what he was capable of in Miami last year. There was still an untapped potential. There was an unscratched ceiling for Jonnu Smith, even without Arthur Smith. So I'm hoping that, we get a combination, as I said yesterday, of what Jonnu did with the Titans and Falcons along with Miami. Honestly, what he did with Miami would be optimal. If we could get another Pro Bowl season from Jonnu Smith, that'd be great. I just don't know with some of the other pieces that we have on offense, like a DK Metcalf, having another tight end like Pat Freiermuth, and the fact that we're going to want to run the ball with Caleb Johnson and Jalen Warren, Kenneth Gainwell. I don't know if the targets and the workload is going to be completely there with Jonnu like it was in Miami, but I think he's still going to be effective. Definitely. There has to be a vision for him if we're going to trade for him the way that we just did, give him the extension while we also already have Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington here. And you heard some of that vision yesterday from Mark Caboli. We're going to move Jonnu Smith all around. And again, that's something that I don't think Arthur Smith really took advantage of with his first couple stints with Jonnu. He probably got to see some of that in Miami, how they used Jonnu as receiver in the screen game and was motioning him, doing all this stuff. So I thinking to himself, oh, wait, we could do that here. We already have a DK Metcalf as our number 1. We have our slot shifty receivers in Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin. Let's think less of Jonnu Smith as a tight end and more of just a weapon, because we know the Steelers, after trading Pickens, have been looking for that wide receiver 2, that number 2 weapon on offense. It's going to be Jonnu Smith. And, Arthur Smith, Jonnu Smith, they're going to both benefit from this reunion. Fair to say. So Ramsey, Jonnu Smith, Arthur Smith, top 3 winners. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, he gets another weapon on offense, capable weapon. And speaking of Aaron Rodgers, Seems like he's doing the whole Malibu trip, inviting all the receivers, all the guys on offense over there. We're seeing some videos and clips surface. Ben Skoranek is slamming some dunks down in Aaron Rodgers' gym. Rodgers throwing up some alley-oops, and Skoranek is, he looks like he was a hooper back in the day. Someone's got to tell Jonnu to get out there, man. He needs to get out there ASAP. He's missing out. You're a Pittsburgh Steeler now. Go out there, build the chemistry, build the rapport, not only with the receivers, but with your quarterback. So I don't know if is Jonnu coming to Pittsburgh? Is he going to do a press conference? Him and Ramsey going to do a press conference here? Make the signing, make the acquisition official. So maybe that's still on the docket. That's still on the schedule, but he needs to get his ass out to Malibu with Aaron Rodgers ASAP. You already missed mandatory minicamp. That was the first glimpse we got to see of Rodgers in the black and gold and his attempt to build rapport with his teammates. So, yeah, get out there. Get out there. Get up to speed. Get ahead of the game before training camp. A couple more winners. From a team standpoint, I think Steelers are winners here. I think we improved the team, even though it sucks that we lose Minkah Fitzpatrick. I think Jalen Ramsey is going to be a solid replacement for Minkah. The combination of Jalen Ramsey, Juan Thornhill, whatever type of combinations we want to use in the secondary, I think is going to be an apt replacement for Minkah, if not an upgrade. And then we get a Pro Bowl tight end / weapon on offense. So not only are we at least going to be status quo on defense, I think, but I think the shake up, we have a higher ceiling, more potential there with the Jalen Ramsey, the versatility he brings to the table. But then we also get that extra weapon we've been looking for on offense. Minkah Fitzpatrick for Jalen Ramsey would have been a fair trade, right? The contracts pretty much even out. The caliber of players even out. Both are, I think, 3-time All-Pros, 5 or 6-time Pro Bowlers. Although I think Jalen Ramsey has made more Pro Bowls than Minkah. Ramsey's got the Super Bowl. So Ramsey's more accomplished, but Minkah is younger. A 1-to-1 trade, Minkah for Jalen Ramsey, would have been fair. But then the Steelers also get Jonnu Smith. Now we lose out on the pick swap at 2027, late round pick swap. We give up a 5th. We get Miami 7th. Who cares about that? So Steelers are winners. I actually low-key think this is one of those trades too where Miami kind of won as well. Because whenever I was talking with Ramsey and Jonnu, they were obviously wanting to get paid more. They weren't thrilled exactly with the Miami situation, where the Dolphins were at as an organization. So they were a little disgruntled. So Miami's able to move off of 2 guys that didn't really want to be there anyway. It probably would have been a toxic environment if they would have kept Ramsey and Jonnu Smith. It would have been a negative. So they move off of 2 guys, didn't really want to be there. They get a solid replacement for Jalen Ramsey on defense and Minkah Fitzpatrick. But then after trading Jonnu Smith, Darren Waller comes out of retirement. They trade a late-round pick and bring in Darren Waller. So, you know what? I actually think Miami kind of played this right. Who's the better team between Steelers, Miami? I'm going to say the Steelers, right? I think the trade, we won out in the trade, but I also think Miami navigated a tough situation as best as they could by moving off of star guys, big-name guys that didn't really want to be there anymore, and getting something in return that could help keep them competitive, or at least competitive in their minds. Like I said, Miami's not going to be competing, no matter how much they think they are, because they have a Tyreek Hill, they have a Jalen Waddle, they got some names. You're just not competing. I'm sorry, you're not really competing. Maybe you sneak in as a wild card, maybe you go 9-8, but that's all Miami's really gonna do. But they got the pieces in place to do that, to still be able to put something out on the field and feel like they could do some stuff in their division and maybe be in the mix later in the season and potentially the playoffs if they make the wild card. But again, in reality, they're not doing anything. I promise you, they're not doing any big winning in the playoffs. They're not actual threats. They're not going to the AFC Championship. They're not going to the Super Bowl. Nothing like that. They're going to get most likely smoked, one and done, wild card. Okay. Couple other winners. Juan Thornhill. This one's obvious. because now there's an opening at safety with Minkah not being there. He could potentially be our main starter alongside Deshaun Elliott. We signed him to a 1-year, $3 million prove-it deal. So if he shows up, if he's given a significant role, then maybe he earned himself another multi-year contract after this season. And then this one's maybe not going to make sense fully, but I'll try to make it make sense here. I think Joey Porter Jr. and Darius Slay are winners. Even though we bring in another cornerback, a lot of people think whenever you bring in another piece, okay, that's less production or that's less opportunity for the other guys in that room. But for JPJ being a young corner, this is another Hall of Fame cornerback that has been there, done that you could learn from in Jalen Ramsey. And if anything, yeah, this is probably the guy you want to archetype your game after the most. Now, Jalen Ramsey's athleticism can't be taught, but in terms of big physical cornerbacks that could press at the line of scrimmage, and also be versatile later in their careers, because we talked about how Jalen Ramsey has moved to slot corner in the past with the Rams. And I'm sure that's something JPJ, to extend his career and be more valuable, is going to want to learn. And he's already had some pretty good guys mentoring him. Dante Jackson, Patrick Peterson, now Darius Slay, but then you add another dude into the mix and Jalen Ramsey. My God, JPJ is a winner here. And then also Darius Slay, I think, too, because it's fair to say Darius Slay ain't Darius Slay from his prime Lions days or even prime Eagles days. He's still capable. He's still a solid cornerback. I'm happy we made the signing. But now it's not all on him. The attention isn't all on him to come in here and be that bona fide outside guy that he used to be. Jalen Ramsey in the house now, it's okay, these dudes could play off each other. They could work together. And you heard from Jerry Dulac yesterday, the plan is all three of those guys to be on the field. So this is also why I say, even though we bring in another cornerback, the other corners in the room, or at least the top corners in the room, shouldn't be that pissed about it. Because JPJ, Darius Slay, Jalen Ramsey, there's going to be some sort of combination where they're on the field the majority of the time because of the versatility that Jalen Ramsey brings to the table. It's not like snaps or opportunity is going to be taken away from JPJ and Darius Slay either. So it's really only a positive for those two guys in the cornerback room. Now we could talk about other guys where their playing time might be taking a hit. So we'll segue into losers. Beanie Bishop and Brandon Echols. Kind of sucks for them. Because Beanie Bishop, this was looking like a big opportunity for him, a big year for him to really slot himself, no pun intended, as a key cog in this defense. Because there was no starting slot corner really on the books heading into training camp. Brandon Echols, nice signing, versatile piece, played slot in the past, but also has played a good bit of outside corner, at least in recent years as well. So, it's not like Brandon Echols was coming in here as the front runner for slot corner. If anything, it probably was Beanie Bishop based off what he did in his rookie year. But now with Jalen Ramsey and the talk about Ramsey playing some slot, JPJ, Darius Slay, Ramsey being the top three corners, they're going to be seeing a significant amount of snaps. And who knows where they're going to be playing, but they're going to be out there. We're going to find a way to get those three out there on the field. They're our most talented, most physical, just most gifted cornerbacks, right? It'd be foolish not to have those guys out there. So unfortunate for Beanie, unfortunate for Brandon Echols too, because his spot on the depth chart moves down a spot too. So, I mean, between Beanie and Echols, they're competing for, if you just look at the cornerback room as a whole, that fourth spot in the room. Beanie, Echols, James Pierre, Corey Trice. You could even throw Corey Trice in there too, because that was one thing that Corey Trice had versus some of our other depth corners is his physicality, his height, his size. Jalen Ramsey steps in here and takes care of that. So everyone else but JPJ and Darius Slay, I would say, in the cornerback room are losers with us bringing in Jalen Ramsey. Minkah Fitzpatrick, I think he just goes to a worse situation. He goes to the team that he didn't want to be a part of early in his career. And yeah, they're probably in a better situation than when Minkah was there for that first year and a half, not even a half, first year and 2 weeks, because we traded for him, after week 2? Was it after week 1? It might have even been after week 1. No, it was after week 2. It was after that Seattle game when Ben hurt his elbow. I think the situation's a little bit better, but it's the Dolphins, man. It's the Dolphins. Dolphins versus Steelers. Now, again, you could complain. We can complain about what the Steelers have done over the last 7-8 years and the purgatory we've been in and how we haven't been serious contenders to the degree that we thought we were going to be. But just go off vibes this offseason, man. We get Aaron Rodgers here, all the moves we made on defense, the DK Metcalf trade. Like, vibes are high right now. Like, we have high expectations. We're all in. We're trying to win a Super Bowl. We're not messing around. Dolphins, what's the game plan? You're not getting over 9-8, 10-7. You're not going to the AFC Championship. You're not going to the Super Bowl. Whereas with the Steelers, there's that potential. There's that, like, who knows what can happen here. We got a chance, man. We got Aaron Rodgers in the building. He's another year removed from that Achilles. He should be the most healthy he's been in the last 2 or 3 years. Better situation than the Jets. Some nice weapons on offense. A competent offensive coordinator. Not Nat Hackett anymore. Not the Jets organization running things and causing dysfunction all over the place. Bro, we got a chance. It's like when we had Ben here, man. Like, you got a chance. Year in and year out. Doesn't matter what players are around Ben. Receivers, defense. You got a chance because you got 7. Now, Rodgers ain't necessarily prime Rodgers with the mobility and the athleticism and all that, but the dude had 28 touchdowns last year. I watched a good portion of his, not a good portion of his games. Well, I was checking in here and there on what Rodgers was doing, and he can make every throw still. He can absolutely make every throw, and his brain isn't degenerating either. The dude knows football at a high level. Who knows? Who knows what this team is capable of with Aaron Rodgers at quarterback and all these shakeups that we've made with the rest of the roster. So I think Minkah's missing out on that. He's going to Miami, and you just kind of know what it is in Miami. Their ceiling is 9-8, 10-7, but I think most likely this is going to be a bad season for them. Where's the hope? They lost 3 or 4 of their captains from last year. I mean, Tua, less weapons for him. I mean, Tyreek Hill, is he going to get traded? I don't think Tua is one of those guys that's going to be able to elevate a team after missing out, after losing a guy like Jonnu Smith, who was a big-time target for Tua. And now you got Tyreek Hill, a little disgruntled, Jalen Waddle. He's a little overrated, hasn't really completely lived up to the hype. I think he's a nice piece, but I think Miami's run's over. I mean, their chance was a couple years ago, and you saw what they did in the playoffs when they had to go on the road against the Chiefs and actually face an elite quarterback and an Andy Reid-led team. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. So, Minkah, I don't know, man. Yeah, I feel bad for you on this one. Because I'm sure he would have loved to stick around and seen what this 2025 Steelers team could be, especially after getting Jalen Ramsey, Jonnu Smith. Unfortunately, he had to be a part of the trade. Last couple losers. I think everyone else in the tight end room. Now, I'm going to almost like everyone else in the cornerback room outside of JPJ, Darius Slay, and almost in the same vein, I'm not going to include Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington in this because I think they have roles that Jonnu Smith isn't necessarily going to take away from. Connor Hayward and DJ Thomas Jones, yeah, I don't know, man. It's going to be tough for you to see the field on offense. Now, Connor Hayward's best chance to make the team is his special teams acumen. DJ Thomas Jones, I think it got almost impossible for him now because we talked about the undrafted rookie free agents, that list, and who had the best chance to potentially to make the team. And I had DJ Thomas Jones as my number one guy because of his ability to play fullback and the fact that we've been trying to figure out who could play that fullback role for us over the last couple seasons, but we really haven't found a guy ever since we got rid of Derek Watt. And even with that, Derek Watt was barely playing for us. Like, we signed him to some deal. So I wasn't going to say lucrative deal, but it was probably an overpay considering, or not considering, but it was probably in relation to his last name being Watt. Weren't we paying him like $3-4 million a year? And all he was doing was special teams for us. Would get hurt frequently, and the max we'd see him out there at fullback was like 1 or 2 plays on offense whenever he was healthy. So that was ridiculous. But we've never really found a fullback since then, a guy to really be slotted at that on the depth chart. And I thought DJ Thomas-Jones would maybe have a chance, but no way. I think that's going to go to Jonnu Smith. And we're not going to have like these fullback heavy plays. It might only be like 5-6 snaps, but if anyone's going to be there, it's going to be Jonnu Smith. But yeah, Connor Hayward, I don't know. It's going to be tough for him. It's definitely going to be tough for him now because his big thing was Swiss Army knife, right? He could play slot receiver. He could maybe give you a play or two at fullback. He could be your third tight end if really needed. But Jonnu Smith does all that and is better and has better size, more athletic, whatever you want to call it. Jonnu Smith's just flat out right better than Connor Hayward at all the things that Connor Hayward is considered good at. So I would say those two are also losers in this Ramsey Jonnu Smith trade because of the addition of Jonnu Smith. You could probably include Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington just because maybe they don't get as much production now, don't get as much work. But I think the offense as a whole is going to be humming even better. Like the starters that were going to be out there that already had spots locked up, like Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. I think if anything, Jonnu Smith might open some things up more for a Pat Freiermuth and a Darnell Washington. It might be easier for them. Now, again, they don't get the workload, but I could see things being more efficient for a Freiermuth or a Darnell Washington. Just easier, right? Not as much eyes on them. Jonnu Smith opens some things up for him, but obviously Jonnu Smith is going to be catching passes, which takes away from Freiermuth's numbers or Darnell Washington's numbers. But if those two are about the team and just overall offense success, then they should be considered winners in this. I wouldn't say losers. I think everyone should eat on offense, right? Like I even think DK Metcalf, like he has his niche. Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, they have their lane of what they're going to be asked to do in this offense. And I think the same can be said for Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington. Jonnu shouldn't take away from that completely because of Jonnu's versatility. Like Pat Freiermuth, main tight end, can play some slot for you. Darnell Washington, blocking tight end. Hopefully red zone threat because we've been asking the Steelers to utilize him more in the red zone. And then I'm trying to think what else. Because Aaron Rodgers seems like he's fond of Darnell Washington. Like what other ways can we really use him? Like we can have all three tight ends out there at the same time. We really could. Freiermuth, Jonnu Smith, Darnell Washington. That's the type of versatility that Jonnu brings to the table. Now, again, maybe there's some less snaps for Freiermuth here and there, less snaps for Darnell, less targets. But overall, I think everyone's going to eat. Everyone's going to get theirs. And I think the offense is going to look better than what it has in the past. So if the focus is on winning, if you don't care as much about your personal stats, I think Pat Freiermuth and Darnell Washington are winners with this Jonnu Smith trade. Okay, let me get to TJ Watt here. That's it for winners and losers. Let me know if you guys agree or disagree, if there's another name that I should have included. I think I covered it pretty good, though. Real quick, TJ Watt. According to Jeremy Fowler, this is why TJ is unhappy with the Steelers situation. Said it on ESPN's Get Up today. So Watt appears to be unhappy with the fact that, look, you're bringing in all these other players. You're bringing in these veterans, and you're paying DK Metcalf, Jalen Ramsey a big salary. That could be money allocated to me, allocated to TJ. So that's why TJ is frustrated. He's been a Steeler his whole career. He's produced. He's won a depoy. Should be 3 depoys. And has been an elite player. Is the best edge rusher at his position for the last 4 or 5 years. And we're trading for a guy like DK Metcalf, who we would consider maybe bottom top 10, top 15 for the last 5-6 years, right? For as long as DK Metcalf's been in the league. You know, he's one of those guys, top 10, top 15 receiver. And we're paying him $30 million. We're trading for a Jalen Ramsey, who is a Hall of Fame corner, but over the last, 2 or 3 years, He's not the number one guy in the league anymore. I think that probably belongs to Patrick Surtain. But Jalen Ramsey, I think he's still a top 10 corner, top 15 corner, almost like DK Metcalf in the here and now in 2025. That's Jalen Ramsey's status at his position. So TJ seeing that we're going out of our way and paying outside guys some pretty decent money, and they're not even necessarily as good as what TJ Watt is at their respective positions. So I can see why TJ would be frustrated. He's homegrown. He's been black and gold for life up to this point. Like, what's going on? Why aren't you paying me? You're trading for these guys. You're giving up assets to get these guys, and you're giving them some pay bumps. Now, DK Metcalf's contract a little bit more lucrative, a little bit more impactful than what we did with Jalen Ramsey. But you get the point. So, to me, the problem is if TJ Watt is actually looking at it this way, this is why he's disgruntled, this is why he's upset. I think the problem with looking at it this way is we're not necessarily we're paying these guys their market value, right? We're paying DK Metcalf $30 million. Jalen Ramsey, he's getting paid his market value, and we went over his contract yesterday. It's not this 3 or 4 year deal. It's a 1 year deal, 2-3 year deal max. Like, we could get out of it. It's not like we're locked into Jalen Ramsey for that whatever it is per year amount that he's getting. I think it's like 25 per year, but the cap hits in the teens. We're not locked into that number for the next 2 or 3 years, or we'll say 4 years. We're going to have to, if we cut him, we're going to have to take on some dead cap, but we would ultimately save $5 million. So, like, we have flexibility with that. If we pay TJ Watt $40 million per year, over $40 million, like, we're going to have to deal with the ramifications of that for the next, like, 3 or 4 years, probably at least. DK Metcalf getting $30 million, you can argue we needed to do that. We needed to add a piece on offense. And those guys being on the roster and us giving them pay bumps and giving them extensions, reworking their contracts, that doesn't take away what we could pay TJ, or the fact that we can or can't pay TJ. Because we've talked about the flexibility and what we have been capable of doing this offseason from a front office standpoint. We could do everything. There's so many restructures that we could take care of. Omar Khan has us in a good place financially. We were able to make a DK Metcalf trade. We were able to trade for Jalen Ramsey. We were able to sign Darius Slay and make all these moves and still pay TJ Watt. We've talked about this. So, yeah, I don't know if this is the best way to look at it. I think it's more or less on the Steelers and whether or not paying TJ Watt this contract extension is just worth it. Because we can do it. We can afford to do it. They're probably just looking at themselves and saying, is it worth doing? Is this the best idea? Bringing in DK Metcalf, all right, that makes sense to us. This has become a very more offensive-focused league over the last 5 to 10 years, and we need more explosiveness on offense. Let's trade for DK Metcalf. He's a guy that's healthy year in and year out, reliable, 1,000 yards, 8, 9, 10 touchdowns per season. He's worth the $30 million. He's not getting, Justin Jefferson, Jamar Chase type of money. He's getting market value. That $30 million per year, that's what DK Metcalf deserves. Makes sense. We need to do that. We needed to do something like that. Still in his prime. What's he, 26, 27 years old? Trading for Jalen Ramsey. Athletic. Even though he's getting up there in age, he can make the switch to safety because of his athleticism, because of what he still has, his football acumen. And it's also fair to say we could use a shakeup on defense, and we're not locked into his contract. We still have flexibility with it. And we also brought in Jonnu Smith, another weapon for offense that we need ever since we traded Pickens, and we're not paying him that much on a per-year basis after giving him that extension. $8 million per year. It's a 1 year, $12 million extension on top of the $4 million he was getting this year. That ain't anything crazy. These contracts ain't holding us back from paying TJ Watt. The difference is, like, it's just the name of the game right now. Or I guess you could actually say it's that cliche. Don't hate the player, hate the game. For TJ Watt, like, don't hate the Steelers for questioning whether or not we should pay you as an edge rusher, an aging edge rusher, $40 million per year. Like, just hate the game. Like, hate where the status of the NFL is right now, or where the landscape of the NFL is with it being so much more offensive friendly. Like, is it worth it to be paying an edge rusher $40+ million going into their 30s versus using that money elsewhere? That's all. I mean, it's nothing personal. It's just business. Like, the Steelers, I think, are doing everything they got to do this offseason that's good for business. Not only good for business in the long term for 2026, 27, for these future years. Like, we maintain really good flexibility for a new era. But we also made significant shakeups and moves that I think were needed in the here and now to give us a chance to compete in 2025, to dust off some of that stink from last year and these last 3 or 4 years and the staleness of this team. We've done good, man. We've done good. And all these moves that we've made doesn't hold us back from giving TJ Watt a contract extension. Like, I don't think he should be looking at some of these other guys and these moves that we're making and say, like, why aren't they paying me this money? Why aren't they going out of their way to do this for me? Because those moves aren't stopping us from paying TJ Watt. They never have. We're paying Aaron Rodgers $10 million. Like, come on. We're paying Aaron Rodgers $10 million. We signed Slay for only like a year, $10 million. Malik Harrison, we brought him in for a 2-year, $10 million deal. Like, all these deals are not stopping. We can afford to pay TJ Watt for this year and for the future because we have that cap flexibility. The question is, should we do it? Is it the smart thing to do? Fair to ask. Fair to ask. For this year, it is the smart thing to do. Like, let's get this deal done, get TJ Watt on this roster because he helps us be competitive. He helps us be contenders. And if the message is all in, not having TJ Watt here, especially this late in the game, with free agency going and starting and passing and the draft passing us by as well, we need TJ Watt here because we're not going to get equivalent value for him if we do trade him away. At least for this season, we're not going to get something that's going to help us better than just having TJ Watt. And we can afford to pay TJ Watt this year that $40 million per year basis. Just look at the guarantees. I mean, that's the main thing that we got to look at. Look at the guarantees. We'll see how the guarantees are situated and stuff. But we can afford TJ Watt at a big time edge rusher deal, break the market type of deal for this year. We can definitely afford that. We could technically afford it from a business standpoint in 26, 27, and 28, but are we going to get that value back? I think we'll get close to that value back this year. But as time goes on, is TJ Watt still going to be giving us those depoy type of seasons? Top 3, 4 defender in the league type of seasons? It's tough to say. And that's what you're looking for when you're paying someone this type of money. I want the deal done. Let's get it done. We'll figure it out next offseason. If things don't work out with it, TJ Watt is still going to have value. We can move off him if need be. Just get the deal done. Get the deal done. But that's where we're at, man. That's where we're at. I don't think TJ Watt should be unhappy about the moves the Steelers have been making this offseason, though. And the guys that we've been signing, bringing in, giving some new deals to, giving some pay raises to, even though they're outside guys. He shouldn't be upset about that because it's not stopping us from paying TJ still. I think we're just modeling what the right amount is, considering TJ Watt's age, how much impact defense has on the ultimate team winning these days in the 2025 NFL, where it's so much offense focused, especially in edge rusher, where offensive coordinators, quarterbacks, that you could scheme around TJ Watt these days. You've seen it happen. You could double team TJ Watt, you could chip him, and his impact is less than what it should be, less than what he's getting paid for, at least. But that's it for today's show. I think we covered everything we needed to. Winners and losers from the trade. Update on TJ Watt. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments. Stay chilling. Here we go, Steelers. Peace.